Bitcoin pulling back today, along with the rest of the crypto markets. Bitcoin is the driver of this crypto market. If it continues dumping, that is going to drag quite a bit of these altcoins down with it. However, I do think that Bitcoin is near a potential bottom. And what I'm talking about is this. It's the monthly 21 SMA, which has not been tested on during this entire trend. And how long has this entire trend been going on for? If we actually zoom out here on the monthly time frame, you guys can see that this trend, which I basically say would be the break above this moving average back in October 2023, and it has not touched down on this monthly 21 SMA that's currently sitting at about $87,000, which is pretty close. Okay. It's pretty close to quite a few things. And also, why am I talking about this moving average? Why am I saying that is a very potential bottom? It's because when you touch down on a support, especially a major support like that, it's usually going to get a very good bounce. Now, we're all just talking about probabilities here. Nothing in this market is 100%. Okay, so let's take a look into the weekly time frame here, right? And I just want to illustrate to you guys an example, right? So this is the weekly time frame, and the weekly 50 SMA has been broken below, right? I talked about a very high possibility of that happening, and it did, because Bitcoin has touched down on the support the third time this time around. And when you keep hitting a support or resistance, it gets weaker. Okay, look at the first time it has touched down on a support, right? Back on the week of August 5th. Look at that one time. Okay, I'm still going to count this as the one time, August 5th to September 2024. Okay, because it's a one set of testing down to that support in a in that set time frame, right? So I would still count this as one time. It doesn't have to be the first touch, okay? And that got a very good bounce up to about that basically took Bitcoin from about 50,000 to about 110,000. Okay, so that was the strength of the first time touching down on a support. Right, second time it still held. Third time it did not hold. Okay, so that's why I'm saying that the monthly 21 SMA is a very likely bottom for Bitcoin. Now, there are some potential downside that is below that as well. And what I'm talking about is this. It's the breakdown target of this rising wedge pattern on this weekly time frame, which would take Bitcoin down to almost $80,000. Okay. Now, the moving averages or support is not going to be an exact number. Okay, it's going to be a range. So could Bitcoin break below the monthly 21 SMA just a little bit before getting a bounce? I think that is still possible. Okay. Now let's come over here to the daily time frame. Daily time frame here. There is a falling wedge pattern Bitcoin broke down from. This bottom trend line here is going to be acting as resistance. It'll be a very good sign for Bitcoin to break back into this falling wedge pattern. I do think the highest time frame that this bigger falling wedge pattern is validated on is on the 3-day time frame. So you want to see a 3-day candle close back into this falling wedge pattern to invalidate this falling wedge pattern and this breakdown. Okay. It is also coming very close to the 3-day 200 SMA at about 88,000, which I would say it's basically in line with the monthly 21 SMA because this moving average has not been touched this entire time as well, the orange line. We're also going to be taking a look into a few altcoin setups later in this video, which will include Go mining. Right, that is one of the tokens we'll be taking a look into. We're going to be taking a look into eCash, which is XEC, as well as Horizon, which is Zen USDT. See what's happening with some of these markets. Have their trading setups changed since the last time I've talked about them? And if there are any changes in their setups, that could mean that either their price targets have been met or they have broken down and invalidated their previous patterns. So something to be taking into consideration of. We're also going to be taking a look into some news headlines. I'll give you guys my instant reactions to some headlines, as well as I'll be replying to some viewer comments as well. I do that every Wednesday, every Saturday. So let's stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and dive into the news first. All right, this first piece is by Cointelegraph, which says 90,000 Bitcoin price is a close your eyes and bid opportunity, analysts. So this sounds bullish. This sounds like this analyst is bullish about Bitcoin and that he probably feels that the bottom is near as well, right? Bitcoin's drawdown on Monday pushed the asset into a 26.7% loss, narrowly overtaking the 26.5% slide seen in April. And you guys know what happened in April. If you guys are not absolutely new to this market, right? You guys know what happened in April. And marking the steepest correction of the current bull market. So this analyst still thinks we're in a bull market. I still think we're in a bull market, even though one of my main arguments for this bull market continuing is not looking great in the short term. What I'm talking about is the Fed rate cut cycle, where we are seeing a significant decrease in the probability of the Fed lowering rates for the upcoming December meeting. Now is only down to basically 1/3 of a chance. That was significantly decreased from back in right after the last FOMC meeting, about 60 something percent. So this is not looking good in the short term, but do I think that we're going to be taking as long a rate cut pause as we have seen this year? I don't think so, right? Especially if Jerome Powell is basically on the way out and Trump is likely to take, I mean, it's very likely he's going to be putting someone that's more dovish in, okay? So yeah, it's still one of my main arguments, even though for the upcoming FOMC meeting it's not looking great. So let's take a look into January. What are the probabilities of an ease in January? It's now 2/3, which is not bad, but these probabilities do change on a regular basis. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next piece of news here. It's by NewsBTC. Will Bitcoin bottom at $56,000? CryptoQuant presents the data. Now, $56,000 is way too low, in my opinion, at this point. I do think that is a possibility after a blow off top, like after this bull cycle is over. So I would personally have plans to take profits when we get closer to the top. But I don't think we're close to the top yet. I think this bull cycle is about to be resume. Of course, I am long on quite a bit of the altcoins here. So it's just what I'm personally doing, what I personally think. It is not financial advice. You guys got to form your own opinions and strategies. So let's go ahead and go to the next piece. Next one is by Dow Jones Newswire. Bitcoin price falls again. Why cryptos are still down and what could change that, by Barron's.com. Now, this is by analyst George Glover. The price of Bitcoin dropped again on Wednesday, hovering around the 90,000 mark in late morning trading. Cryptos are staring at a crucial 2-day stretch. Bitcoin was down 3% to about 90,000 over the past 24 hours, according to data from CoinDesk, now trading about 30% off the record high and hit in early October. So let's move on and see if we can find some points on what this analyst think could change this. Okay. Now, let's see here. Investors will also be keeping an eye out on results. Let's see here. Oh, here it is. The market is currently pricing in a 40% probability of another cut in December. Yes, I do think that may have affected the the Bitcoin price today, right? Because I did see that probability did significantly go down today, from about just a little bit less than 50% to about a third now. Okay, so that is one of the key reasons, and I agree with that. But I also do think that the it could be that the market is waiting for Bitcoin to hit one of those moving averages I talked about before a rebound. All right, let's come over here to comment section. I reply to comments verbally for the most part on every Wednesday and Saturdays. Let's take a look. This person says the breakdown of Telcoin supports and resistance levels was super insightful, so I tested it on Exness, and it really helped keep my entries cleaner than usual, which was kind of nice to see. Yes, I talk about technical analysis very heavily on this channel. It is basically my focus on how I trade the markets. I do pay attention to some macro events, but my main area of focus is going to be technical analysis. I know that some of you guys call me out on it about not talking about fundamentals. It's because I'll be very honest with you, that what I focus on is technical analysis, and some of you guys might actually know more about the fundamentals of each specific token than I do. But how I make money in this market is really focusing on the charts, and I am gonna focus on trading because I think at the end of the day, it's about cashing out in USD that really matters. I want to make money in this market by trading. Okay. Now, could holding and believing in a token be effective? I mean, to an extent, but I have been around this market for 6 years now, and I've seen these coins tank like crazy. So I think at the end of the day, it's going to be about taking profits. I have used to believe in coins and that they will go to the moon, but I mean, you could still believe that, but while still compounding your profits and buying more with your profits, right? All right, so next piece here is this viewer ICP bright future loading and staking for future. Yeah, good to know. Thank you for the insights. The next person here, I don't read Arabic. I think that's what it is. Sorry if I'm wrong. Next piece here. Yes, please continue with Filecoin. Thanks. Yes, I will. If enough of you guys want to keep seeing Filecoin, please do thumbs up my video. I will make more updates on any given coin if enough of you guys want to see it. Next viewer, Toshi is king of base. Good to know that. Next piece, ICP will explode. Good to know that. I do think a lot of these coins will explode once the bull cycle continues. All right, let's go ahead and our next piece here, last one. Buy when they cry. Time frame for next 5 years. I do believe in buying the dips when the situation is appropriate. I still do think that we're in a bull cycle, so therefore I do think that the dips here are buyable. Okay, of course, like the entirety of this video is just my opinion. You guys figure out your own opinions because I could be wrong. Let's go ahead and go to the next piece here. Let's go to altcoins now. This is Go Mining. Let's see what's happening with Go Mining token. Okay, this is the monthly time frame. It broke down from a rising wedge pattern. You guys should definitely pay attention to rising wedge patterns. They're just as important because they'll tell you that there is a likely pullback coming. And this one did, okay? The breakdown target, which it broke down back in March of 2020, of this year, it broke down, it retested the bottom trend line, it got rejected again. The breakdown target is going to be about 23 cents. Let's see if Gold Mining reaches that price target. Because price targets are estimates only, there could be more, there could be less. A lot of which, in the case of these altcoins, is going to depend on what happens with Bitcoin. Okay, if Bitcoin continues to drop it could pull down a lot of these altcoins with it. Let's go ahead and go to daily time frame and see if there is any more clarity with Go mining here. Daily time frame, falling wedge pattern. Go mining is basically at the edge of a breakdown here. Let's see if it can hang on to this bullish pattern here for a likely breakout. So if Go mining actually manages to hang on to this pattern here, which it did from yesterday's daily candle. Let's see if it can continue to do that. If this pattern stays intact, then Go mining, if it breaks out by this point, for example, price target would be about 50 cents. Okay. However, these technical analysis patterns, they have a higher chance, even though they have a higher chance of breaking in one direction, they still have a lower chance that they break to the other direction. So just have to mind the downside risk. Let's go to eCash. This is eCash here, and this is a falling wedge pattern. Still intact from the last time we talked about it. I'm going to go ahead and move this measure move along the upper trend line here to give an estimate that could take more time to play out. Falling wedge pattern, which are bullish patterns that have a higher chance of breaking to the upside. If this one breaks to the upside by here, for example, price target would be about 0.0000. I think that's 4 zeros and 80 almost. Okay, so that is still a pretty significant move if this actually breaks to the upside. Let's take a look into a smaller time frame and see if I can get in more clarity on what eCash could be doing. This is the 4-hour time frame, and this is a falling wedge pattern, and that's just how you chart patterns. Once you start charting these patterns, it's going to appear a lot more clearly to you. Now, how you take a measure move is for a falling wedge, is by measuring the opening of the pattern. Put it on top of an estimated breakout point that will give you about 0.4 zeros and 1 4 out of this smaller falling wedge pattern. Okay, let's see if that happens. Let's go ahead and go to Horizon and see what's happening with Zen USDT. All right, I talked about a falling wedge pattern that broke to the upside and way crushed this price target. Okay, and I'm gonna take away some of these trend lines and clear up the chart here since the price target has been met and some more. There was a potential cup and handle scenario that looks like it's basically that's still potentially valid because we see fake out candles, but candle wicks do not invalidate patterns. Okay, so this is still I would still say this is a valid cup and handle pattern here. Okay, cup and handle pattern here. Price target would be about $29 Horizon. Okay, let's take a look into the 12-hour time frame. 12-hour time frame, there is a potential smaller cup and handle pattern here. And why am I saying that? Because there is a rounded bottom here, and rounded bottoms usually form cup and handles. This is not a validated cup and handle. I'm just guessing based on this rounded bottom idea. Okay, if it comes back up here to about $25 2 times on this 12-hour time frame, then that could form a cup and handle pattern. So I can update you guys on this as the chart evolves. Let me know if you guys want to continue seeing any more of Go mining, eCash, Horizon, or any other coins in this market by dropping a like, comment, subscribe. I'll pick a request to do for you guys on a daily basis, and I'll see you on the next one.